Okay, great. Well, welcome to this evening's webinar, where we will talk about global business experience for graduate students at Bentley and advanced standing students. Um, these three programs tonight that we will cover are also offered to our alumni. That's right, that's a new opportunity for the alumni community who may have been Bentley students without much time in their hands to travel abroad. That is now a chance and opportunity that we created for them to apply for a seat in one of the three courses that we are offering next year. As a way of introduction, my name is Sandro Chiodini. I work at the Cronin Office of International Education. I've been there for about 2.5 years now. I'm the director who works with our professors in creating these programs. So I very much interact with them from the proposal, where they come to me and talk about their course abroad, to designing the experience, to implementing the program, to sometimes also traveling with some of these courses. We can use the chat function throughout the meeting. So please feel free to fire away any of your questions. I will try to answer them as I navigate over my slides. I'm also mindful, and we'll try to keep this webinar up to 7 p.m. What are global business experiences? What are GBEs? These are courses, these are 3-credit courses offered abroad. Faculty create these courses and they travel with the students abroad. Usually the format is that students meet with the professors, with the class 2 or 3 times, then they travel as a group, and the courses, while they cover management as a general topic, they very much dive into each of the faculty's own research and discipline. They range from 7 to 10 days. It's a combination of cultural experiences. And then based on what the program is about, there are also business meetings to reflect and to bring to life some of the things and some of the cases that you may discuss in class. For next year, all the courses do offer the same cost. It's $6,095, which is the same cost as an on-campus course. We are also charging an admin fee that if you apply by October 1st, which is next Wednesday for the January-March programs, or January 31st for the program in May, we waive that admin fee. If you are currently on financial aid at Bentley, your current financial aid package does not cover the cost for a GBE. However, there are additional scholarships available through our office, and I will cover them as well. So academics, you have to plan ahead to make the GBE work for you, to count as one of the courses for your academic progression towards your degree at Bentley. So for the MBA program, if you are in the MBA program focused on accounting, the general MBA, a leadership or taxation concentration, you do not need pre-approval. It counts as one of your electives. If you are in the MBA program on the law, marketing, or strategic healthcare management, you do need to reach out to your program director and see how that GBE is going to fit to count as one of your electives. Sometimes the faculty member with the program director will outline exactly what extra work you may need to do for the GBE to count towards one of your electives. GBEs do not count towards degree progression for the MBA concentration in finance and for any of the STEM MBA degrees. For the master's program, it does count towards accounting, HFID, and taxation. Again, no pre-approval. It does count as one of your electives. For the law, marketing, finance, and the strategic healthcare management, you do need to reach out to the program director to make sure that you get pre-approval. If you are in the business analytics, GBE do not count as one of your courses for your academic progression. I also want to quickly highlight that if you think about return of investment in taking the time to travel with a group of students abroad, yes, there is a return of your investment. As you can see, an average salary from education abroad alumni are slightly higher than students who do not go abroad. If I'm not mistaken, for 2024, which is the data from last year, it's about $5,500 more on average. And what does that mean? Why? Usually students acquire skills that reflect on their potential when they apply for a job. Intercultural skills, negotiation skills, global business understanding. You don't really gain that deep experience when you're just taking on-campus classes. So navigating uncertainty, ambiguity, traveling with a group of students, that is a lot of value added to your experience as you grow professionally and also academically through your graduate experience at Bentley. The starting salary also by program location. It's interesting to see that the sub-Saharan Africa is very much higher if you compare, let's say, for Latin America or Europe. And I would say because challenging, the programs that we might offer, students who may go to the sub-Saharan Africa and work on projects who expose themselves in emerging economies in the sub-Saharan African region may learn additional skills in a very different way than if you just go and study abroad in Europe. So again, it's interesting that this data came out later last week, pointing out to these regions of the world that you see an uptick on where programs capitalize on students capitalizing on programs in these specific regions. But I'm here to talk about the 3 programs that we're offering next year: Japan, spring break to Scotland, and summer intensive to Switzerland in May. I will briefly cover them. I'm not going to read every single slide, and I will also share the slides for each of you later today on an email. So as I mentioned earlier, the 3 courses, they do touch in management, some in a more meaningful way because the faculty research is around management. This is the case with Susan Bremon, for example, for Japan. But I will highlight the difference between them, not only the destination, but also some of the academics they are covering. So the Japan, as the title mentions, is around design. Professor Bill Gribbons is the co-lead on this course. Susan and Bill have led a group of graduate students earlier this year in January 2025. They have tweaked the itinerary a little bit and are running the course again next January. The business meetings around this course will be very much into design thinking, the design of spaces, the cultural homology of Japanese people. How does that reflect in leadership styles? There will be research papers that each student has to mention by November 24, what exactly they want to focus on their studies. Then write a research paper that is due on December 8. And when you come back from the trip, there will be a reflection paper presented due end of January. Pretty standard. Each of these 3 different courses, they have pre-departure classes. One of them focus very much in logistics, operations, flights, hotels, the train system, where we're going to be eating, all of the logistics around the trip. And 2 classes are very much focused on the academics of the course. This trip covers Tokyo for 4 nights, 1 night up in Hakone, which is in the mountains near Mount Fuji, and 2 nights in Kyoto. So we'll be traveling by train between those cities. You fly into Tokyo, you travel by train to these different locations, and fly out of Kyoto on the end of the trip. There is also a day trip to Hiroshima out of Kyoto the night before you return to Boston. This is a tentative itinerary. Again, we have agreed with a company in Japan to outsource some of this business. So this is the tentative itinerary. The order of some of the visits may shift depending on who is available to host the group, but this gives you a sample of what this program offers, some of the experience you're gonna have. As I mentioned, this is also something that brings people together, I think, in a very meaningful way. the students who travel as a group, they become close friends, not only during their time at Bentley, but sometimes friends for life, also in a professional way. I have a question in the Q&A. Yes, the pre-departure classes are required. They are just like a class. So I'm sure if you reach out to the professor, if they really conflict with another class or with something else you have going on that is important. But yes, the expectation is that students attend. Thank you, Scala, for that question. Yes, Henry, the pre-departure classes are usually in the evening, around this time, I would say. I have attended a few, um, and they are hosted around this time. And it's a mix of either virtual, some faculty just offer them over Zoom. Some faculty ask students who live in Boston to drive to campus to get to know each other. But again, it's hybrid. The expectation is that the info sessions, the pre-departures are hybrid. Pascali, I don't understand really your question about the visa for permanent resident in the United States. It's a case by case, so I encourage you to please drop me an email. But generally speaking, what my office does is that we do support visa applications to these destinations if you're not a US citizen, or if US citizens need a visa to enter a country, we will work with each of you to gather the paperwork and submit the application ahead of time. Great questions. Um, the next course now, heading over to Scotland. This course, again, has been running for a few years now. Professor Iris Burdrow, you may know her already. She's the director of the MBA program. She was my professor when I was a student at Bentley many years ago. I also did the GBE back then. It was to South Africa. But this course very much highlights intercultural between business people in Scotland with a deeper understanding of sustainability. How do some corporations encounter issues when trying to raise sustainability, increase sustainability across their business models? Again, academics are part of this course, are around the course. This one, as you can see, it's a little bit different. There is a cultural prep assignment due in February before the trip happens in spring break. And there are also our environmental challenges responses due in April when you are already back from the trip. And here you can see to some of your questions before, when do these pre-departure meetings take place? This one takes place on 2 Saturdays. So the pre-departure dates and times, Anna, responding to your question, they're usually in the syllabus and also each of the course brochures. We ask faculty to determine in advance when are they offering the pre-departures, exactly because we know you guys are busy, you have family, you go to class. So we try to provide as much information as possible in anticipation of your application. The spring break week in Scotland, we'll cover one night in Edinburgh where you land as a group. Then you travel up to St. Andrews. You stay in a luxury 5-star hotel. You have a tour of the St. Andrews Gulf to understand also how they handle sustainability. And then you spend the last 4 nights in Aberdeenshire up north, and you fly back to Boston on Sunday, March 15 out of Aberdeen. This program very much is a mix of castle visits, tours of historical sites, whiskey experiences, and you travel by bus up north as you navigate the countryland of Scotland. You also get to see some national parks and learn a little bit more about food production, distilleries, and this course has been traditionally offered. It's probably in his 10th edition, and students have reported a great satisfaction by visiting Scotland during spring break. The last course, it's going to be offered in May. led by Professor Tracy Noga, who is a professor of accounting, and Jill Brown, who is a professor of business ethics and also the director of the PhD, the executive PhD in business at Bentley. The International Corporate Social Responsibility course has ran this past May to Switzerland with about 14 students. And this course, again, just like the title, it focuses very much on CSR. Again, a little bit of a different approach for academics. As you can see, faculty try to shape up the pre-departure sessions and when the students return in different ways to collect their learning journey. And to the earlier point about the pre-departures, these ones are 2 pre-departures on Sundays and 1 when the students are back in June on a Tuesday, time TBD. I have a question around the May program, if it's possible to do it over graduation. If you are not expecting this GBE course to count towards your degree completion, so if it's an extra course, then I would say you can apply because the departure time and date is on Sunday, the day after commencement. So technically you would be, and most likely you would be joining already as an alum status, meaning it doesn't count for academic credit for your graduate load at Bentley. This program starts in Geneva and travels all the way up to Zurich, to Bern, visiting different sites. I am listing some of the experiences and sites and a sample of company visits that the previous group has done. This program, I'm not sure how many of you remember, but it was offered in the Caribbean 2 years ago, I believe, to the Bahamas in January. And this year has been proving successful to run this course around the same topic in Switzerland. Same both faculty members. So how do I prepare? Again, financial aid package, if any of you have it, it doesn't cover. So save up for the course fee, save up for the airfare and some pocket money. Please take a look at your academic planning. If you have questions, visit academic advising to go over to make sure it fits with your academic planning. If your passport is about to expire, even if it's expiring, let's say after you come back within 2 or 3 months, you need to get a new passport. Most countries require 6 months validity of the passport after your arrival date. So please make sure that your passport is valid and also has empty pages. So that's the first thing I would do tonight if you're considering traveling in one of these courses. Again, emphasizing that if you apply early, you do take advantage of the early bird. We will waive the $125 admin fee. The program application to apply for these courses is pretty straightforward. There is a very simple application form where we collect your information, a letter of intent. Who are you? Why are you applying? What are your professional interests? What are you looking to learn through this program? And a copy of your passport. If your passport is not valid, if you realize it's not good for the trip, you can go to the post office next week or renew it online and then submit an evidence that your passport is currently being renewed. Students who currently have FAFSA on file, they can request a deposit deferral via email. That means that the $500 enrollment fee, the deposit fee that we collect, we don't collect at this time, we will bill you later. The $500, again, is credited to your student account along with the cost of the course later in the semester. If the course is canceled, if something happens that international travel cannot take place, we will refund all the payments that the students have made. Money, scholarships. There are scholarships available. They range anywhere from $1,000 to $6,000. US citizens and permanent residents with financial needs are eligible to apply. I encourage anyone to apply, really. It's a very, very competitive process. So please make sure that you really spend time in reflecting about your letter when you apply to the scholarship. At the same time, if you're really depending on scholarship, And if you cannot do the program, if you're not awarded a scholarship, at the same time, I would reach out to the Student Financial Services to understand what other options you may have, including loans and the monthly payment plan. And again, even though the deadline for the January and the March program are coming up in a few weeks in October, the billing process for the airfare and for the program fee only takes place in early December, and for the program to Switzerland in April. So it's not something that you need to think about, that you need to come up with the money by the first week of November when decisions go out. And I always say this to my colleagues, to students, going on a trip like this, it's a professional and a personal growth on steroids. You learn so much in such a short time. Speaking of my own experience, I'm just going to quickly review the questions. Let me see. Why would a student not be admitted? So, Anna, usually the programs have a cap of 14 students, maximum 15. If a program has 25 applicants, the faculty will review the letters and they will trim down to only 14, 15 students. So faculty do have that power to reject applicants. One of the questions in the program, when you apply, is if you have an alternative course. If you're not admitted to your first choice, would you be considering enrolling in another course? So usually we roll over applications to another course if you're not admitted to your first choice. Of course, we communicate that to you. The letter of intent, again, a simple letter. You cannot edit, Brett, unless you really think your letter is not very compelling, or if you just wrote something that probably you think it's not very professional, reach out to me. I can try to help you. But yes, it's a letter basically, like I said, introducing who you are. What are you working on? What are you studying? If you're not working, what is your career aspiration? How does that trip and some of the business meetings and some of the things you're going to learn throughout that program are align what you're looking to do next in your career? And I also encourage each of you to spend some time taking a look at the course syllabus. That's very important as you write your letter. How far out would enrollment fee be deferred? So the enrollment fee is deferred up to December. That means that instead of paying the $500 using your credit card when you submit your application, if you have a deferral, you can submit your application. You're not going to be paying the $500 at that time. However, when billing takes place in December, you are going to be charged, the full $6,095 plus the airfare. If you pay the $500 non-refundable deposit but are only accepted alternative course, are we still committed to going? Yes, you are. Just to clarify on what we do with this money, our goal here is not to make money on students. Every single deposit that we collect, we submit payments to many folks to make this possible. We make deposits towards hotels, group hotels, reservations, flight groups. So our office does take that money and pass on to different contracts that we have placed to make these programs possible. But if you end up not having an option that you are not able to go on one of these trips, we need to know as soon as possible in early November. When you get the decision, like within a few days, most likely, you would need to say, I cannot go because of XYZ, and we can move you to another course. But the expectation is that students who submit an application, pay the deposit, and are accepted, they can go. The only caveat is that if any student has a pending conduct investigation on campus, they are also not eligible to go on one of these trips. Yes, the syllabus, also good question. Each syllabus should be under academic sessions of the course. Each course has its own course syllabus. There is also a suggested few items under the money piece, money matters. The courses also offers different items for like suggested out-of-pocket expenses. And it's 6:58. I was trying to really be diligent here with my time. Skylar, you're not responsible for booking your flights. As I mentioned, some of the money we collect with the deposits we put towards flights, so group flights. If students have miles, for example, or if they don't live in Boston and they want to fly out from their hometown, that's okay too, as long as we communicate. So once we close the roster of students, you're going to get a lot of emails from our office because we coordinate this operation. So things like, are you flying with the group? Do you have dietary restrictions? We pair students based on gender, right? So males share rooms with males and females with females. But you could also say, I don't want to share a room. How much does it cost? So we will also ask those questions if students want an upgrade for a single room for the trip. And we will also share the cost for that. So it's a really like hand-holding process once the roster is confirmed to make this a very positive experience for you. Especially when we think about traveling all the way to Japan. It's a cultural shock. The food is different. It's a time zone of 12 hours. So we want to make sure that if you are admitted to one of the programs, you're stepping into a very comfortable process, and also that we know how we can best support each of you to make the most out of the trip. I'm going to pause the recording, and I think I covered all the questions, and it's 7 p.m. And again, I'm going to just move the slide over in case you need to write down my email. And I usually try to answer emails not on the weekend, but during the week on the same day. And it was great hosting this webinar. I appreciate all the questions. And please don't be shy. I'm happy to also meet with you over Zoom. So we can do that. If you have a bunch of questions, send me an email. We can schedule a Zoom. I've been in this job, as I mentioned, almost for 3 years now. I graduated at Bentley, 2014 to 2017. And previously I was at MIT Sloan, also working with education, international education. So I have a bunch of experience in traveling with groups, in providing a very positive experience for student groups, anywhere from Latin America to Europe to Asia. The faculty are very excited. They are not required to teach these courses. So each of these faculty that are teaching these courses, they propose this course. So they're very excited to travel with students to use their experience outside the classroom. Let me just share my screen very quickly again so you can see my email. I don't know why that happened. Okay. I hope it's showing now. If someone could just say yes or no. Okay, great. All right, everyone, have a wonderful weekend. I will wait for the webinar Zoom to send me the recording, and then I will blast out an email with the recording and the PowerPoint. I hope I get to see some of your names again in the applications, in the application database in the coming weeks. Thank you for joining me, and we will also be in touch with the raffle of the three $500 flight vouchers. So we will collect your names, and we will be emailing the results in the coming weeks. Have a good night.